Hey, Speakeasy podcast listeners. It is another episode of the hashtag Speakeasy podcast. And I am your host, out to be Pelzer, the voice coach, your voice manager, unmuting the voice of women who are ready to speak up about what has kept her silent for way too long. Listen, we are doing this life after COVID. And man, if you haven't been listening in, I don't know what you're waiting on. Make sure that you hit up all of the episodes in this particular series because we're definitely hitting on some things that are going to help you, elevate your life after COVID. This is for you and you and you and you as well. So make sure that you're joining the conversation, bit.ly/World Voice Community. We want to hear from you and how this particular episode resonated with you. Now, this one, the silent enemy. That part. Guys, I need you to really tap in on this one because this one is going to hit on some heartstrings. But with that being said, I'm also excited about my guest for today. Hello, Chandra. How are you?
Hello. Hey, how are you doing? Thanks for having me.
I am so excited to have you on the documentary and then the book. And then I was just like, so many ways that we can go with this particular episode. But before we get started, let everybody know a little bit about yourself and then we'll dive in.
Sure, absolutely. And again, thanks for having me. I am excited to be here with you. I am Chandra Broadnax Payne. I am an author and filmmaker. My book, You Go Girl, 25 Ways to Step Into Your Greatness, is a self-help book for women. And then my film is a feature-length documentary titled A Silent Enemy. I am all about helping to unmute voices that have been quiet for so long. So that's what I do through my books and through my films.
Now y'all know why I'm so excited about this episode, right? So, oh my goodness, when we think about what we've gone through in the last 12 months, becoming unmuted is such a powerful movement. Talking about domestic violence, being able to help in those areas. And I think, let's just be honest, over the last 12 months, the veil has really been lifted when it comes to what domestic violence really looks like and how we still feel like it's kind of taboo to talk about it.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. It's unfortunate that we still have men and women in domestic violence relationships. But you're right, with COVID, with people being at home more, the victims are having to be home with their abusers a lot more. The kids are having to be in the home where abuse is happening a lot more. And so our rates are going up higher when it comes to domestic violence. But I'd be curious after COVID to find out how many domestic violence situations haven't been reported, because when you think about it, if I'm a victim and I'm in the home with the abuser more, I may not be able to pick up the phone for fear that I may lose my life, if I report it. So it's just a very sad situation overall.
Now, I love that you did a documentary on it because I feel like, again, this has been such a taboo topic for so many. This has been an area where we kind of fall back and we're a little scared to talk about it sometimes. What gave you the strength to say, okay, not only am I going to talk about it, but we're going to put this on wax. We're going to put this on film so that way we can go and support and encourage and enlighten other people.
Yeah, so I have always, anybody who knows me, even though I don't talk a lot, when I do talk, I'm one of the people that's like shouting with my soft voice, right? That's just how I am. And so for me, it was a no-brainer. I felt like this was a message that had to get out. This was a message that we need to talk about. So I said, as a filmmaker, as a creative, I'm gonna push it in your face, right? There are so many, and I'm gonna step on some toes here, if it's okay. As an African-American woman, growing up in a family, we were taught that what happens in the home stays in the home, no matter what it was, right? Whether we're talking about financial issues or marital problems or domestic violence or alcoholism, molestation, whatever it was, right? We were taught to not speak about that because it's embarrassing, because it is a taboo subject. We don't want people to know what's happening in our families. But what happens when we do that is we are literally perpetuating the cycle. It's almost like you're giving permission for whatever it is to continue happening. And so for me, keeping that in the back of my mind, probably about 2.5 years ago, I met some survivors. I met survivors of domestic violence. I was out promoting my book. I had just written my book, and I had attended a bunch of women's conferences. And it's not coincidence. I know it was God, but I literally kept meeting survivors of domestic violence. And even though my book isn't about domestic violence, it's about stepping into your greatness, really, and about honoring who you are as a woman. These survivors were drawn to the book. And so they would come up to my table and they would share stories of domestic violence with me. And I was horrified because I'm like, oh my God, do people really go through this? It almost took some blinders off my eyes and opened my eyes. And so I started researching domestic violence. I started visiting a local shelter where I lived, organizations, picking up resources, just becoming familiar with it, really. And that's when I started to notice that there were people that I loved that were in these relationships. It wasn't physical abuse, so it was harder to spot. It's more emotional and verbal abuse. And I knew that I couldn't help them, but it broke my heart that I had to lay down every night knowing that they weren't in good relationships, that their lives were in danger. And so I knew that I couldn't pull them out of it, but I knew that I could still lend my voice, that I could still lend to the fight against domestic violence. And so what I did is I said, I'm going to create a film, right? There's some people who love to read. That's fine. But there are people, I feel like people will take to a film better. And so I decided to use my creativity and put it into a 50-minute documentary about domestic violence.
That part. And, thank you. I think it's not said enough for the people on the front line that help women out of domestic violent relationships, that, are bringing awareness to the fact that these relationships are not just ones that are happening in the back alleys or, in the small towns, that these are actually things that are happening all across the world. Mm-hmm. And that we can do something. I know something that you said is, it pointed to, a lot of times we feel helpless because we feel as though, well, what can I do? I may not be able to get that person out. I may not have the funds to do something. What can I do? And how did you get past that point of thinking that I can't do anything to, I can find something that I can do to help? Because I think that'll really support a lot of the people who, coming out of all of this stuff we've dealt with over the last 12 months, they're like, I may not have the finances, but I have the time. I may not have the time, but I have the wisdom. How do I get into the right mind frame of saying I can do something?
It didn't happen overnight. I will tell you that. It was a lot of sleepless nights. Me constantly worried, about them, just trying to figure out what I could do. And I made the mistakes of trying in the beginning, trying to get them out, thinking that I'm boosting their self-esteem, saying things like, girl, you don't need him. he's no good. He's this and that. He's already showed you who he is. Like, why you keep putting up with this? You're too good for this. And what actually happened, she became closer to him, and I became alienated. He painted me as the bad one simply because I was trying to get her out of a controlling, abusive relationship. And so I almost felt like trapped, like I was in a box, right? Just scratching, trying to claw my way out and trying everything that I knew how to try out of love to help her get out of that situation. And then I realized that, number one, she isn't ready for whatever reason. And that I had to, no matter how hard that decision was, I had to let it go. And I had to allow her to be the one to come to the decision that this is not a healthy relationship. That isolation, that manipulation, that controlling, everything to finances, from that sexual control to everything that's involved in that particular relationship is not healthy. And so I took that energy, and in the beginning, honestly, it was frustration. I took all of that energy and I said, I'm going to use this because it's just bottled up inside of me. Because you want to help as friends and family members of people who are in these relationships. You want to help. You have the best intentions, but sometimes your best intentions can fall flat. And so I took all of that built up energy and I said, I am going to help someone. If I can't help the people that I know that I want to help, I'm going to help someone. I didn't know how I was going to be able to do it, because to create a film, I didn't shoot it myself. I actually hired cinematographers. To create a film is very expensive. It can cost thousands of dollars. And so I literally set out to do it, no money, and decided, and did some fundraising for it.
I'm glad that you started talking about that, because I was going to ask you to, as we finish up this episode, to definitely hit on some of those things, because some people may be listening in and saying, well, I love that she did that. I want to know a little bit more. So I'm excited about hearing how you put this together.
Sure, absolutely. So I put it out on social media. I said, I have an idea. I'm going to do this film. I started talking with people. I started networking with people, and it all just kind of fell together. It all came into place. I met one lady and I said, hey, I'm doing a documentary and it's about domestic violence in the African American community. She said, well, I know some survivors you need to talk to. So she put me in contact with a survivor. I immediately clicked with this woman. We sat in Panera. The meeting was supposed to be anywhere from probably 30 minutes to an hour. We were in there for almost 3 hours. And as I was talking to her, I could literally envision her. I could just see myself standing behind the camera and envision her on camera. And so after I met her, then I met some other women, and people were just putting me in contact with different people. And then I said, okay, well, I've got all the people in place. Now I need the funds. And so I put it out on social media. I said, hey, here's this project that I want to work on. Here's what I want to do. Here's what I want to focus on, but we need your help. And I'll tell you, you'd be surprised when you put stuff out on social media, how many people are willing and able to help you. In the beginning, I thought, we are literally in a pandemic. Nobody's going to be able to help me, because we did shoot the film this year during COVID. And I thought, everybody's watching their coins. Nobody's going to be able to help, but I'm going to put it out there anyway. And when I tell you, I raised probably almost 85% of the funds just from putting it out there. And so I hope that encourages somebody, whether you have a desire to work on a film or something else, that if you have an idea, just go ahead and start working it. Go ahead, take baby steps, start plugging away at it, right? Because you don't know who you're going to meet, who's going to have the skill set that you need, who may have the funds to be able to back you that you need to get your project done. Don't discount what you can do, even during this season.
That was the perfect way to end this particular segment, because guess what? Don't discount it. Don't discount what you know. Don't discount your time. Don't discount you being able to reach out and have somebody help you. Speak Easy podcast listeners, I absolutely love each and every one of you, and I'm thankful that we're able to bring this series to you, because we've heard your cry. I've received the messages. I understand it's been a struggle this year, but I hope that this series really helps you to move past that and realize that you can have a successful year and that you can still launch, you can still dream big. Chandra, let them know how they can reach you online and how they can find out more information about the book as well as the documentary.
The book is available on Amazon.com, Barnes and Nobles, and all major online retailers. You can also follow me on Instagram at Chandra B. Payne, as well as Facebook at Chandra Broadnax Payne, and A Silent Enemy on Facebook and Instagram. To find out more about the film, you can visit www.asilentenemy.com, www.asilentenemy.com.
Oh my goodness. Speakeasy listeners, I hope you were listening in. Make sure that you share it out. Let us know how this particular episode resonated with you by joining the conversation. bit.ly/World Voice Community. We appreciate each and every one of you, because without the Speakeasy podcast listeners, there would be no Speakeasy podcast. Make sure that you also go and leave us a review on your favorite podcasting platform, because guess what? We want to keep bringing you all of the stuff that you need in the time that you need it. With that being said, I want to give a quick shout out to our sponsor, Good Living Now. Good Living Now Black Seed Oil. We are super excited. If you go to bit.ly/A Greater Life, you can go and you can actually see how the owner, founder, and CEO, Harold LaFlaw, actually used black seed oil for him to overcome cancer. So you can read his story by going to bit.ly/A Greater Life, and you can also get your bottle of black seed oil capsules as well to help you have a greater life. This has been another episode of the #SpeakEasy podcast, guys. And until next time, don't forget to press it out. See ya.